Joining me right now to talk more about it is the Daily Caller editor-in-chief, Christopher Bedford. Christopher, it's good to see you this morning.
Good morning.
What's your take on all of this?
Well, I'm cautiously optimistic that the DOJ has done anything at all in response to the president's tweets, but not just the president's tweets, in response to all the things that we've learned about this investigation possibly having begun or spying having begun before a counterintelligence investigation. But I'm really not that optimistic at all in the end, because I'm not sure what an inspector general is going to be able to do. That's not going to be an inspector general doesn't have subpoena power. They won't be able to speak to anyone in the Obama administration. They won't be able to speak to Clapper or Comey or Brennan or anyone else in the intelligence community who has since left. I'm not sure exactly what we're going to find out from doing an internal review of people who are currently at the Department of Justice.
Well, Bob Goodlatte has subpoena power, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, and he certainly has been subpoenaing documents and all. Look, this investigation that Devin Nunes is doing is trying to understand what triggered the investigation into the Trump campaign. What intelligence was out there to actually come up with this idea that there could be collusion between Trump and Russia? We've had no evidence of it, and they can't get the documents that they're asking for in order to get to the bottom of this, because Devin Nunes told me 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, that there was actually no official intelligence used to launch such a campaign, Steve Forbes.
No, it is outrageous. Even J. Edgar Hoover, in his heyday of abuse, never did something like that, put spies in a political campaign. And the fact that Brennan and Clapper are behaving the way they are, not trying to turn over documents, you know they're good. There's a huge cover-up.
Yeah.
And it goes right to their ultimate boss, President Trump's predecessor.
President Obama.
You bet.
So you think he was calling the shots here?
I think he knew what was going on.
Yeah, and John Brennan, Chris, this is incredible. I've got to get your take on this. John Brennan is now threatening Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell. The former CIA director weighed in on the DOJ's review of the FBI campaign infiltration, taking aim at GOP leaders Senator Mitch McConnell and Speaker of the House Paul Ryan. Look at this tweet that Brennan put out this morning. Senator McConnell and Speaker Ryan, if Mr. Trump continues along this disastrous path, you will bear major responsibility for the harm done to our democracy. You do a great disservice to our nation and the Republican Party if you continue to enable Mr. Trump's self-serving actions. Your take on this?
Brennan's not doing himself any services talking out like this. Brennan's somebody who should be also careful about what's going on in his own house. We know that Brennan told Congress when Congress was trying to investigate exactly what started this counterintelligence investigation, for example, that the Steele dossier had nothing to do with it. He was, of course, said that some of his associates said that that was incorrect. It actually had been used. And then Senator Harry Reid, who was then at the time in office, said that when Brennan was briefing him on possible Russian collusion, he took that as a signal that Brennan wanted this information leaked to the press. And once there were briefings going on about this ridiculous dossier, then places in the press where it was leaked to, places like BuzzFeed, said, well, now that there have been briefings at high levels, we've got a reason to leak this now and damage President Donald Trump. This seems like it's a setup, and he's not a reliable person, and maybe he ought to consider getting a lawyer.
Every time you think this story has gotten incredibly worse than you thought before, it gets even worse again. It's incredible.
Well, and Christopher, to lay out what we found out in the last few weeks, in part because of Kimberly Strassel's reporting at the Wall Street Journal, is this FBI informant. It's very obvious to many who this individual is, who set up meetings with Carter Page, George Papadopoulos, and Sam Clovis during the 2016 campaign. Again, it raises the question of, when was this FBI counterintelligence investigation opened? Who knew what and when? And the public deserves to know that. And instead, Devin Nunes at the House Intelligence Committee is being treated like a traitor, like somebody who's abusing power rather than somebody trying to get to the bottom of what was essentially, it appears as if, spying on a presidential campaign.
And we mentioned Stephen Halper's name as a potential person who could be this mystery guy on this show just, I think, 2 weeks ago now.
That's right.
And he came on, he was in contact with 3 members of the Trump campaign, talking with all of them. He only actually raised the suspicions that we've been able to find with Papadopoulos because he came out of nowhere, it seemed, according to Papadopoulos, for someone familiar with his thinking. He came out of nowhere asking about the Russian collusion and Russian emails and if they had anything to do with anything. And at that point, Papadopoulos pulled back. But this person got in touch with Carter Page right after he gave a talk on Russian relations. He got in touch with Papadopoulos, reaching out. And if he was funneling information back and using his connections to MI6, his former CIA connections, a former U.S. government employee, this is spying on U.S. citizens, and people like Brennan don't have a good reputation for spying on U.S. citizens and then lying about it already.
Christopher, where is Sessions on this? The Attorney General, is he? What's he doing?
Yeah,
he's recused.
What is he doing?
He's upsetting the president, that's for certain. He's recused. He's on the sidelines. Somebody earlier called him absent without leave because the president is obviously annoyed at his absence on this situation. But maybe there ought to be some movement for Attorney General Jeff Sessions. And here's something I've noticed about him and his long career in the Senate, is you can always count on Sessions to do the right thing eventually. It just takes a little bit of time with the gentleman.
I think that's awfully generous. I'm fascinated, though, by the fact that they are not using the word spy. They're making a really big deal about calling him an informant, not a spy.
Yeah, like Jim Comey and his so-called leak. Not a leak, right.
Why do you
And
think
what's interesting about that is that he seems to have done more than simply inform. He wasn't somebody who was just quietly present and then said, you know what, I saw some suspicious activity. He reached out to Carter Page. He reached out to George Papadopoulos. He asked searching questions.
Yeah.
He invited them back to his farm. He wasn't just a fly on the wall. He's someone who went out there fishing.
That sounds like a spy, Christopher. And by the way, you mentioned this goes all the way up the ladder, potentially to President Obama calling the shots. We know for a fact that Sally Yates and Loretta Lynch were briefed on the Trump campaign in March of 2016. A couple of months later, we learn of a dossier. Then we learn that Loretta Lynch told Jim Comey to refer to the investigation as a matter, not as a criminal investigation. It's all coordinated.
It stinks all the way up to the very top.
And that coincidence of a meeting with Bill Clinton to discuss golf scores and grandkids.
Right. Well, they wanted to discuss the grandkids on the tarmac in Arizona. Right. Just extraordinary.
It is extraordinary. I think it's really important that the American people, whether they support the president or not, look at this and say this is not okay. Because if you took the players out and said these behaviors were happening with anyone else, there'd be outrage.
Yeah, the left throws out the Constitution when it is about Donald Trump. It's not okay unless it's about Donald Trump and conservatives.
If you can't call it spying, what do you call it? Schmying?
Yeah.
Right. Informing? What is that?
Christopher, more will be revealed. We will see, and we'll be watching the Daily Caller, of course. Thank you so much, sir.